you ready to hear the roar? We're here in Zolder in Belgium. Finally, after 17 years, we are back here and we're so excited to be racing here. Yesterday we already saw a brilliant race, but today everything is different, obviously race 2, and we've got a rookie in pole position and we're very excited. Let me just get in the middle of the two of you, sorry, because Sheldon van der Linde, what a phenomenal qualifying you did. You're the youngest guy here in the DTM and you just managed, it's your 4th qualifying today and you managed pole position. So how do you feel about maybe even bringing home a victory? I guess that would be a dream come true.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it would be definitely a dream come true. I think it's just the most important part is going to be the start, just getting it right. Obviously, we don't have the handbrake this year, so it makes things a bit more tricky off the line. But yesterday, my start was okay, so if I can do something similar today, we should be good. And we've got Philip behind me as well, so it should be a good one for Team RBM.
Oh, certainly crossing our fingers, that's for sure. And team boss Bart Mampe is with me now. So, I mean, looking at Sheldon, you must be really proud, and especially since this is a home race. I mean, I bet you have a good strategy because you want this more than anything, don't you?
Well, of course, I mean, it's exceptional to see a DTM rookie actually to be on pole position in his 2nd race weekend, so he did exceptionally well. Also yesterday, actually, the pace he had in the race was very promising as well. So we built on that, we did our homework. We hope for a clean race. Yesterday, of course, the safety car helped us. Maybe today, maybe we don't need the safety car that much. So we will see. But all in all, fantastic result for my team. Fantastic result to be with the team in the challenge in our home race. So we cross our fingers. We will do what we can. And let's hope we get the best result for Sheldon.
All right, well, best of luck. It's going to be an exciting race, that's for sure. And now to the commentator.
A very happy Sheldon van der Linde, a very happy Bart Mampe as well. It was an extraordinary qualification session for Sheldon van der Linde. He's put the car on pole position. Here we can see a wonderful heli shot of Zolder Circuit. Welcome, good afternoon. You join us for race 2 this weekend, and thousands and thousands of fans have made their way into this extraordinary circuit to enjoy race 2 on this DTM weekend. It's an amazing circuit as it winds its way through those trees next to the river, as you can see, and there's a bit of low cloud around, and all the talk yesterday is with regards to what the weather conditions were going to be today. I think it's fair to say that the doommongers who suggested the rain was going to arrive at the start of the race have been proven wrong, because at the moment the sun is shining high in the sky.
Here with a man who had a very interesting tactic in the qualifying, René Rast, who's starting in P2. But actually, you decided just quickly before the restart of the qualifying, you would not go out again because you were happy with P2. But quite frankly, were you a little bit nervous whether that was the right decision or not? I mean, in the end, it was. It was a very good tactic. You are in P2.
Yeah, it was the right tactic. Already yesterday we saw that the 2nd shot of tires wasn't really going any quicker. And I finished my 2nd shot before the red flag already, so there was no reason for me to go out again and try again because I had no tires left. And that's why we decided to stop and to see if the others could improve.
And now you've got a rookie ahead of you. It's his 4th race coming up. Do you have a good feeling about maybe acing the race?
Yeah, I mean, he did a very good job. He's very young, 20 years old. First pole position is always something very special. I like him a lot. He's a good guy, so I hope for a clean and nice race between both of us.
All right, well, best of luck, René. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Well, René was absolutely right in that qualifying session. Like yesterday, nothing really happened in the 2nd phase of qualifying. Therefore, there was no incentive or motivation for René Rast to put the car back out again in his 1:21.5, giving him enough for P2 on the grid. As we look at Loic Duval in his final stages of preparation ahead of race number 2. Another one of the rookies in the field this year is Jonathan Aberdeen. Let's hear from him.
So here I am with the man who's starting in P8, Jonathan. You're also part of a Belgian private team, and so this is kind of your home race. So I guess starting from P8, you're really keen on collecting some points in this race?
Yeah, of course. Obviously the home race for WRT, and looking forward to scoring some points with them and having a bit of a party tonight.
All right, well, best of luck. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Back to you.
Jonathan Aberdeen, former single-seater star in the DTM this year. And as he mentioned, racing, of course, for the local WRT team. And there is his car. So, Bart Mampay there in conversation with Joel Eriksson. You can see Joel just relaxing in the sunshine on the pit wall ahead of the start of this race. British driver Jamie Green then. We've not yet seen the best of Jamie this season, but trust me, it will come. His qualifying time, a 1:22.555, then gives Jamie Green a P9 starting position. As you can see, he's installed in the car. And there, another one of our fantastic heli shots of the grid as it unfolds to the left-hand side. You can see the Sheldon van der Linde BMW parked up P1 and Rennie Rast alongside. So some brilliant shots. Jonathan Aberdeen then, he qualified just one place better than Jamie Green, but by hundredths of seconds, that's all. And Jonathan Aberdeen then going from that P8 place on the grid. And there is Jonathan Aberdeen ready to get into his car to do the business. Over 55 minutes plus one lap in weather conditions that are predicted to be absolutely dry throughout the race. However, we do know that we are in Belgium and therefore the weather can change very quickly. So we were looking at Marco Wittmann then, two-time DTM champion, of course, and Marco Wittmann going from P7 on the grid. He's not qualified in perhaps the style that he would have hoped. He brought home a P7 yesterday and would have been hoping for better than that, perhaps. And, well, let's see what he can deliver in the race, where we know that strategy is going to play such a part once again. Tyre degradation quite high on this circuit, overtaking quite difficult. And as Sheldon van der Linde said to us as we spoke to him at the start of the programme, nailing the start is going to be absolutely crucial and critical. As we look at Mike Rockefeller, we can bring you the news that one driver that will not be on the grid and will not be starting is the Scottish driver for our Motorsport Aston Martin, Paul Di Resta.
And I'm here with Paul Di Resta. And Paul, we're wondering why you're not wearing your race suit. Why are you not racing today?
I want to take an earlier plane home.
But apart from that, seriously, why?
No, we had an issue in qualifying. We had an oil pressure issue, and unfortunately the car stopped, and I think as a bit of a precaution as well, we weren't able to obviously get the car serviced quick enough, put another engine in. So unfortunately the way the schedule is, it's hard. This is what's going to happen in DTM. It's not the first time it's happened this year to us. It won't be the last. This is part of the learning curve, and it clearly gives us an indication of the weak points of our package, and we'll try and fight stronger when we come up with solutions.
Well, I'm glad you and the team is still in good spirits, and now you've got 3 weeks till Misano, so hopefully that's going to give you a lot of time to work on it. Thank you so much, Paul, and have a safe trip home, and back to you.
Thanks very much. Well, Paul is absolutely right, of course. Where our Motorsport have come from with the Aston Martin Vantage DTM car. Limited testing, limited time to build the cars. They have done an extraordinary job, and as Paul indicated, faults are going to occur, and it's part of the learning process that we have, and regrettably he is a casualty today and will not be taking part in the race. We were looking briefly at Robin Freins, who of course is the local driver, and we pick his car up right now. So Robin Freins, who, if you joined us in pre-show yesterday, you would have seen him and Rennie Rast make a trip to a chocolate factory as they became chocolatiers. And Robin makes no secret of the fact, which perhaps not helpful in the guise of an athletic racing driver. He really rather likes chocolate, perhaps too much, but we'll be wishing well to Robin Freins, who goes from P4 on the grid. This man yesterday did a brilliant job. Philip Eng won the race. His maiden DTM victory for Philip Eng. Did a great job in his BMW, and he's qualified really well today as well. He's going to be a danger man from there, potentially. He is going from P3 on the grid for Philip Eng then, who took his first win yesterday. Look how this track unfolds through the trees. A real old-school circuit. When you drive into the circuit, as thousands of people have done, you actually pass the entrance to the circuit, and you almost go, you're almost within touching distance of turn number 8. It's an amazing place. Rennie Rast then, he goes from P2 on the grid. Of course, he didn't have a brilliant time of it yesterday, not finishing the race, but he banked what he needed to do this morning. He knew that he wasn't going to get better than P2, so saved the tyres, brought the car in, and he'll be able and hoping to convert that P2 into something very, very strong in the race. Sheldon van der Linde, undoubtedly the pressure is going to be on him, and he's really going to feel it, isn't he, at the start of this race? He's done all the hard work in qualifying. He's put it on P1. Can he convert that into a race win? It really would be a fairy tale. Welcome to Zolder. In Belgium, 77 kilometers away from Brussels, and has held 23 DTM races. Some extraordinary architecture, both residential and industrial, that litter the countryside that surrounds this Zolder circuit. Some 4 kilometers, 2.941 miles in terms of circuit length, with 10 turns, 4 of them left, 6 of them right-handers. However, turn 7 is a right-left, right-right chicane. And it is a circuit which is difficult to nail and difficult to get right. Philip Eng did it yesterday. He's going from P3 today. Sheldon van der Linde, the driver that is on pole position, achieved a P11 yesterday. But in qualifying, he put it on P1. Took points and banked points, of course, in his first ever DTM race at Hockenheim in race number 1, finishing a P6 place. And there, with great regret, is Paul de Resta, and alongside him to the right-hand side is, of course, his car with oil pressure issues, which means, as a precautionary measure, he will not be starting the race. And he's taken on board some coffee and, of course, will be, I'm sure, firmly welded to the seat on the pit wall as he watches his 3 our Motorsport Aston Martin colleagues contest this DTM race, which is scheduled for 55 minutes plus 1 lap. But, of course, race control have the ability to extend the race should safety car demands. Here's the grid in full for you. Sheldon van der Linde goes from P1. Rennie Rast is alongside in P2. To the second row of the grid, we find yesterday's winner, Philip Eng, and local boy Robin Freins goes from P4. Timo Glock and Mike Rockefeller share the third row of the grid, P5 and P6. Then it is Marco Wittmann and a good quali from Jonathan Aberdeen, P7 and P8. Jamie Green and Joel Eriksson are on the 5th row of the grid, P9 and P10, ahead of Loic Duval and Nico Muller. Nico Muller, of course, finishing the race very well yesterday with a podium place. Jake Dennis, P13, Pietro Fittipaldi, P14. To the 8th row of the grid, we find Bruno Spengler and Daniel Juncker-Deyer. And then it is Ferdinand Habsburg, P17, P18 would have been Paul de Resta were it not for the oil pressure issues that he has succumbed to. And there is the Rennie Rast car then. Of course, he surprised all of us in the second race at Hockenheim with a strategic call from the team, Audi Sport Team Rosberg, which worked really, really well for him. And he spring a surprise here at Zolder today. As I mentioned, thousands of people have made their way into the Zolder circuit as the DTM returns to Belgium. And Harald Groos, who won the first ever DTM race, which of course was held here at Zolder, is actually here and has been racing in the historic classic cars as well. And Harald, fantastic driver. And there you can see the lap record is with Robin Freins currently. I wonder if that will be beaten today. The weather conditions certainly perhaps offer an opportunity for that best lap time of Robin Freins to be beaten. We will see. That is the Robin Freins car. Again, as I mentioned as we were going through the grid, I think he could be a real danger man from P4 on the grid. And there, just an indication of how many people are ready to enjoy the DTM race action. Alongside me is Brian Oliver. And Brian, the scene is set for what should be a classic race, I would suggest.
It really is. It's been a great return back to the Zolder circuit after so many years. And yesterday we enjoyed some wonderful racing, a great qualifying session today as well. So high expectations, and with a rookie on pole position and yesterday's winner behind him, that's set for what could be a very exciting afternoon, isn't it, Dave?
I think you're right. I think you're right. It was an extraordinary race, not necessarily for the amount of overtakes we saw, but for the strategic plans that were played out, and we're expecting that to be a part of it today. And one thing I would like you to factor in, as we saw two-stop strategies being used yesterday, is that going into this race, the prediction was it was going to rain for day 2. Going into this race weekend, therefore, the teams, the strategists would have looked at that and thought, right, what can we do to maximise our effect? And clearly, you're given a certain amount of tyres that you're going to 5 sets of tyres that you can use over the course of a race weekend. Do you bank on the fact that the rain is supposed to arrive on the Sunday and therefore perhaps use a bit more in terms of slick tyres on the Saturday than you would do ordinarily? And if you have gone down that route, that potentially leaves you vulnerable today, because look at the tarmac, it's bone dry.
It really is a roll of the dice, isn't it? And it's decisions that have to be made on a Saturday that are felt on a Sunday. It doesn't feel like there's rain coming in. We've heard rumour that there might be rain towards the end of the race, but I've looked out the door and it doesn't look like it to me. I'm told the weather can change very quickly here.
It's Belgium. I mean, you've only got to think about Spa.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not very far away from there, so yes, it can change very quickly, and you're absolutely right. The prediction is that potentially towards the end of the race, well, we will see, because at the moment, whilst you're not a meteorologist, and nor am I, looking outside our studio, I wouldn't have said there's any rain coming. So
no.
We've got what we've got, and the drivers then on their installation lap around to the grid, as we go through the grid once again for you in graphics at the bottom of the screen. Cars weaving from side to side to generate some temperature into the tyres. Now, of course, these are the most powerful DTM cars ever, with the new 2-litre turbo power, and subsequently, the tyre wear is very, very different and more severe than it was from last year. The tyres remain unaltered. The compounds have not changed at all. Therefore, tyre management becomes much more crucial for DTM this year. We saw that yesterday, with a number of drivers adopting this two-stop strategy. What we also saw yesterday, which was a surprise to me, was those drivers that were on a two-stop strategy stopped very early on in the race. And last year, of course, we saw a number of drivers that would stop early on in the race and then continue with tyres that would give longevity for the rest of the race. That cannot happen this year. The tyres just, they will not give you the grip you need for the entire race duration. Therefore, it's what makes DTM even more entertaining for us. Bart Mampay then, to the very right-hand side of your picture there, as he said when we were speaking to him earlier, very happy with his rookie driver Sheldon van der Linde, who's put the car on pole position. Bear in mind that the Bart Mampay team, RBM, is very local. Dr. Florian Kamelguer then to the very left of your picture there, the team head of our Motorsport. Now, the lever that Danny Juncadella was adjusting there is his brake bias lever. So, let's hear Sheldon van der Linde brought in to the grid.
Go a bit more. Stop. Good.
Millimetrically perfectly into his grid box, always guided into the grid box on team radio by race engineers to make sure that they're lined up correctly in the grid box, because if you get that wrong, you can be penalised for that. If you adopt the wrong grid position, you can only be a few millimetres out and they will still penalise you for it. Daniel Juncadella then comes into the grid. We await the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the pack then. We get that right now. Stand by. The sequence of start can get underway. We are ready to go racing. We're live from Zolder. We have 1 red light, 2, 3, 4, 5. When the lights are out, Sheldon van der Linde with a good start. Also, Philip Eng with a good start. Rennie Rast looked like he did not get a brilliant one, and sure enough, Philip Eng has put himself into that P2 place. Sheldon van der Linde leading the race, but Philip Eng, having won the race yesterday, wants another victory on the outside of Sheldon van der Linde. Pietro Fittipaldi has dropped right to the back. Philip Eng makes a mistake and loses out on 2 places. Sheldon van der Linde, a perfect start from him. Robin Freins is also in a battle there with the now dropping back Philip Eng. And Robin Freins puts himself ahead of Philip Eng now. So he retains that P4 place. Jamie Green going up the inside of Marco Wittmann. Nearly. Didn't quite work. Jamie Green in the all-orange Audi. Somebody shortcuts the chicane, but gets away with it. 3 abreast at the back of the pack. Sheldon van der Linde leads. Absolutely extraordinary racing right on the opening lap, as you would expect, because all the cars are bunched together and everyone just trying to make the extra centimetre count. This splitter cam that we're able to show you then as we chase down the Audi ahead then. We were on board with Mike Rockefeller chasing down the Jamie Green car. In turn, Mike Rockefeller being chased by Joel Eriksson. So some under investigation, we're being told, for a jump start. It was Bruno Spengler that shortcutted that chicane, but he managed to save it from there. And as we put the first lap in the book then, Sheldon van der Linde leads from René Rast, Timo Glock, Robin Freins, Philip Eng, Marco Wittmann, the top 6 drivers. Then it's Jamie Green, Mike Rockefeller, Joel Eriksson. And there is Ferdinand Habsburg on the inside of the number 21 car of Pietro Fittipaldi. As push to pass is enabled now into this DTM race. There is Mike Rockefeller running in that P8 position with Joel Eriksson behind him. Car cars sound and look absolutely superb. In early on then is Daniel Juncadella. So a strategic call then from our Motorsport to bring Danny Juncadella in early on.
Fitted. You're the only car. Watch the white line and be able for late calls.
Well, they're rolling the dice with Danny Juncadella then. And he is returning out onto the track now, having taken a very early pit stop at the conclusion of lap number 1. Didn't necessarily see that coming, if I'm truthful with you. Sheldon van der Linde, 7/10 he has got. Jamie Green was the driver that was under investigation for a jump start. That has deemed to be inaccurate. There is no penalty for Jamie Green as he continues his quest to try and get by Marco Wittmann, who is running in P6. Jamie Green is P7. So Sheldon van der Linde leads from René Rast. Then it's Timo Glock. Then it's Robin Freins and Philipp Eng. And Sheldon van der Linde, for my money, Brian Oliver alongside me, he nailed that start absolutely perfectly and didn't yield to the pressure.
He did brilliantly at the start. Not too much wheel spin, got away cleanly. First into the first corner, great start. René Rast, he had contact and I saw him go sideways into turn 1 and he was very lucky not to get turned around. Collected it up, great experience driving from René Rast, and he continues in P2.
Thanks, Brian. So van der Linde leads then with that 0.8 of a margin. Jamie Green is looking very lively on Marco Wittmann, so it's Audi versus BMW there as we look at the Loic Duval car. Just into shot, there comes Marco Wittmann and Jamie Green. Marco Wittmann running in P6, Jamie Green running in P7. You can see how close these are in the battle for that P6 place. And there are very few tenths between the two of them. Sheldon van der Linde is doing a great job. He's not being pressured by René Rast at the moment. You have to think it's a matter of time that it will come, that pressure, that's for sure. René Rast is not going to be happy with P2. He's going to want to try and find a P1 out of this race. On board with Timo Glock, running in P3. Always entertaining, always furiously fast, Timo Glock, but he's having to defend very hard from the DRS using Robin Freins right behind him as Robin Freins tracks the BMW now, dives to the inside, and with that DRS assist, he's able to go through. Timo gives him a little love tap on the rear and now gets right alongside him. You don't overtake Timo Glock and think it's all over and done with, as he's always going to try and come back at you. And of course, Timo will have a DRS availability against Robin Freins now. Robin Freins has pushed himself up into P3, but Timo Glock is throwing absolutely everything at it. And you have Philipp Eng right behind, and then it's the Marco Wittmann, Jamie Green battle as well. So much going on in the early stages of this race. Another driver in, that's Bruno Spengler.
It's clear, go, go, go. Watch the white line, watch the white line.
So Bruno Spengler leaves his box, then a very good time of just 6.3 seconds.
Any damage on the car?
I don't think so.
Okay, so no damage on the Bruno Spengler car. Of course, we saw him shortcutting that chicane, and they're concerned about perhaps damage to the underside of the car. Looking back at Philipp Eng from being on board with Timo Glock. And for the moment, Robin Freins has been able to see off Timo Glock, trying to come back at him because Robin Freins put himself in that P3 position by getting past Timo Glock. So the two drivers that are pitted, Danny Juncadella lap 1 and Bruno Spengler lap 3. So now, René Rast just reels in at Sheldon van der Linde, as we expected it to come at some point, and it's now that he's reduced the gap down to 0.3 between Sheldon van der Linde and René Rast. As a rookie driver, he's going to have to really try and defend here against René Rast. But Sheldon has not put a foot wrong. The fastest lap comes from René Rast, a 1:23.864. So van der Linde now has to make that BMW as wide as possible to try and prevent the Audi of René Rast from coming through. René will be just stealth-like, watching every single place where Sheldon van der Linde turns in. Where is he going to be vulnerable? Where can I potentially put a move? But at the moment, Sheldon's doing a good job in defence. Robin Freins can't quite get on terms, but you can see how much of a gap he's pulled out over Timo Glock already. So we're looking back at the Philipp Eng car from the Timo Glock machine, and now Rast is within 0.3 of Sheldon van der Linde. It's a BMW versus Audi battle then for the lead of this DTM race. We're live from Zolder. Philipp Eng, victorious yesterday. He's reeling in Timo Glock now and hoping that he'll be able to find a way past the Formula One Stars car here. So Glock, well, they're both using DRS. Philipp Eng using DRS to attack, and of course, Timo Glock using DRS in effect to defend, so it kind of nullifies any advantage that Philipp Eng may have as he's trying to get on terms with his BMW brand mate ahead of him. DRS laps remaining, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen there. Of course, Sheldon van der Linde has the most of anyone, given that he is leading the race. René Rast has been pretty conservative with his use of DRS. There you can see Arno Zenzen looking on from Audi Sport Team Rosberg, and bet your bottom dollar that he will be pushing, metaphorically, René Rast as hard as he can from the pit wall. Robin Freins quietly going about trying to reel in the top two. He would love to take what is a relatively home win here. Here in replay then is the start. There was questions over whether Jamie Green got a too brisk a start. It was certainly a very good one, as you can see him diving through the pack. And here, just watch for the all-orange Jamie Green car that will appear at the bottom of that shot. On board with Timo Glock. Robin Freins trying to best Timo Glock going into turn number one, and succeeded in doing it, but then ran wide as Timo almost got on terms with René Rast. You could see them going three abreast almost. And oh yes, you're absolutely right. Brian Oliver pointed out the fact that René got a touch from Timo Glock. Nothing malicious in that. Jamie Green looked all the way around the outside. Actually, Jamie was thwarted by that going on, wasn't he? He actually had to brake to avoid further contact. And Philipp Eng, of course, being hung out to dry around the outside. Well, Sheldon van der Linde has responded to René Rast's attack by increasing the margin back up to just under 7/10. So, once again, we are on board with Timo Glock. Looking back at that car, the car that propelled Philipp Eng to his first DTM win yesterday. Philipp Eng at the moment running in that P5 position. He's some 4.1 seconds down on the leader. However, still 45.5 minutes plus one lap of race action to come. And Robin Freins now getting closer to the leading pack. It's the margin is down to just 2 seconds between them, Brian.
Yes, the lead pair have pulled away really well, and René Rast is not letting Sheldon van der Linde get away from him. But Robin Freins is the quickest man on the track for most of the time. He's slowly reeling in René Rast, and it won't be long before it's a three-way battle for the lead, I don't think.
Trouble is, you're absolutely right, he is the quickest, or he was, but the margin of difference between the pace of these cars is relatively minuscule, and therefore it's taking Robin more laps than he would like to be able to get on terms with P1 and P2. And you can just see him into shot there. Sheldon van der Linde then 6/10 between himself and René Rast. To give you the top 10, it's van der Linde, Rast, then it's Robin Freins, Timo Glock, Philipp Eng, Marco Wittmann, Jamie Green. Then it's Mike Rockefeller, Loic Duval and Nico Muller rounding out the top 10 as we look at Bart Mampay, the team principal of BMW Team RBM, as Joel Eriksson comes in for a pit stop. So Joel Eriksson will be returning out onto track, and once again now René just gets a little bit closer to Sheldon van der Linde. For my money, this is a very, very good drive from Sheldon. He's not bowing to the pressure of having a former DTM champion right behind him and pushing him hard. And of course, what you're seeing here is those cars that have spotted, including including Joel Eriksson and Bruno Spengler. Now, Bruno Spengler should be able to get on terms with Joel Eriksson and go past him, because as you return following a mandatory pit stop, no tyre warmers are allowed in DTM. Therefore, effectively, Joel Eriksson is out on very, very cold tyres, and therefore Bruno Spengler, having done a couple of laps before him, his tyres will be up to temperature. However, let's get back to this lead battle, because as you can see, it's down to 3/10 between Sheldon van der Linde and René Rast now. We know difficult is the word you would use for overtaking here at Zolder. René Rast now reels him in, reels him in, reels him in. In comes Philipp Eng, in comes Nico Muller, in comes Pietro Fittipaldi. All of a sudden, this is looking a very busy pit lane. So Philipp Eng is released after 7.1 seconds. Here is Pietro Fittipaldi in. So they go to work on the Nico Müller car. The Audi AB Sportsline team release Nico Müller. You can hear the wheel guns in action. Philipp Eng on his way out of the pit lane now. So Philipp Eng, do not cross the white line, and he is out after a one pit stop. Are we going to see another before the end of the race? Only time will tell with regards to the strategic plans that the team have put in place. So we have now 6 drivers that have stopped. Danny Juncadella on lap 1. Then on lap 3 it was Bruno Spengler. Lap 7 was Joel Eriksson, and then on lap 8, Philipp Eng, Nico Müller and Pietro Fittipaldi. There, René Rast then. Continuing to harry and hurry. Sheldon van der Linde ahead of him. And you can see how the gap between the two of them is seesawed over the last 3 laps. And again, René Rast gets ever closer to Sheldon van der Linde, hoping to provoke just the tiniest of errors, just a lack of concentration in one section that would be enough for René Rast, Viper-like, to be able to pounce on Sheldon van der Linde. But thus far, he's not yielded to that pressure. He's nailed every apex. He's looked pretty comfortable and pretty assured, to be honest, which of course is making the job ever more difficult for René Rast. And sometimes when you're in this position, Brian, when you're chasing down a car ahead of you, you become so desperate to try and get past that you begin taking risks that perhaps you shouldn't. Don't think that would be a fair thing to say about René.
I really wouldn't with René Rast. He's way too experienced. I'm so impressed with how Sheldon van der Linde is holding that pressure, because we have to remember he's a rookie. This was his first pole position. This is his first season in DTM, and he is taking on immense pressure from René Rast. And here we go.
He dives to the inside now, and that was always going to come. The door was perhaps left open for too long as Sheldon tries to come back at him. So just as Brian was explaining how Sheldon has really soaked up the pressure, René Rast makes his move. He saw the opportunity, he saw the window going into turn number 1 to dive up the inside line, and that's what he did. Here comes Timo Glock then into the pit lane. Let's run the clock on him. 6.3 second stop for Timo Glock, and Robin Freins is in as well. So the Audi Sportsline team work on Robin Freins. Now, Brian has just pointed out to me that, interestingly, Philipp Eng, of course, made a pit stop maybe 2 laps ago. He's now the fastest car on the track. He's running in the 1:23.6s.
That's an amazing pace, and that's going to be a clear indication to any cars that have not pitted yet that this is what is achievable if you've got the tyres available to you.
Well, you can see Philipp Eng now. He will be able to easily get past Robin Freins, because Robin Freins will be on cold tyres. He's just returned from his pit stop. However, he's making the car as wide as possible, as is his right. And Philipp Eng will be frustrated behind Robin Freins, because Philipp Eng needs to get past as quickly as he can. He puts himself on the outside of Robin Freins now. He should have the grip availability to go all the way around the outside, which becomes the inside for the next turn. And sure enough, he does get it done. But I reckon Philipp would have wanted to make that overtake 2 turns before he did.
Yeah, when he's fresh out with these tyres that are up to temperature, he wants to be using them and maximising them. He, of course...
It's Sheldon van der Linde.
Yes,
Forgive me interrupting you.
No problem.
Sheldon van der Linde is in. It's not the quickest stop in the world.
Traffic on exit, watch the white line. Freins on exit, Freins on exit.
However, they can see what has happened to the pace of Philipp Eng through bringing the car in now in terms of what the grip availability is. Now, it wasn't the fastest stop in the world, but we now have Sheldon van der Linde who's stopped. Therefore, the only drivers that have not stopped are the race leader, René Rast, Marco Wittmann, Mike Rockefeller, Loic Duval, Jake Dennis, and Ferdinand Habsburg. So, Philipp Eng now with huge pace advantage over Sheldon van der Linde, who is on cold tyres. So he's tiptoeing the car around. That was turn 4, where he went off earlier in the qualifying session, earlier this morning. And Philip Eng now will try and get past Sheldon van der Linde. And he shouldn't find it too difficult because the grip afforded to Sheldon van der Linde will be significantly less than Philip Eng, whose tyres are up to temperature. P7 and P8 is being fought over here, but that's pre some drivers taking their pit stop. Although René Rast is into the pit lane now from the lead of the race. So Sheldon van der Linde by now has probably put enough temperature into those tyres to see off Philip Eng. Here comes René Rast then. It needs to be a very good stop for the Audi Sport Rosberg team. Again, at 8.4 seconds. Here comes Sheldon van der Linde now. Sheldon is definitely going to have him because he's not even going to be out of the pit lane. There you can see Philip Eng is under pressure from Robin Freins, and this is what is preventing Philip Eng getting on terms with Sheldon van der Linde because he's having to defend against Robin Freins. But now here comes René Rast, who will try and tiptoe that car around the circuit ahead of Sheldon van der Linde, even though René Rast will be on colder tyres. Look at him vigorously weaving from side to side to try and get temperature. So Sheldon has now got to try and do the overtake that René Rast did 3 or 4 laps ago.
And it's this lap, really, that he needs to
Absolutely.
do it. It's now or never, really, isn't it?
Now, René, of course, is going to metaphorically stick his elbows out. And the more corners that René Rast can do, the more temperature that's being generated into those tyres, the harder it will be for Sheldon to find a way by. And you know what? Bit like Philip Eng did, as Robin Freins on the outside of Philip there. Oh, they're getting very, very close. I think Rast has done enough to see off the charge from Sheldon van der Linde. Can Sheldon put himself on the inside going into turn number 1? No, he can't. Robin Freins takes a look at the outside. Philip Eng gets a bit scrappy on the entry to turn 1. And here comes Timo Glock, who wants to join in this battle as well. This is brilliant racing from DTM. DRS being used where possible. It's Eng ahead of Robin Freins, ahead of Timo Glock, and René Rast has stayed ahead of Sheldon van der Linde. So if everything were to stay this way, what you need to consider from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen is we're probably, and I'll say probably once again, looking at the race lead actually being at P6 currently because of the fact that Wittmann, Rockefeller, Duval, Dennis and Habsburg have all got to stop. However, whether these tyres can do the duration for another 35 minutes plus 1 lap is open to some discussion, Brian.
Yeah, it's this point of the race where tyre preservation comes into it as well. I have to say, looking at Philip Eng, he's a man who has got fresh motivation after his win yesterday. It's kind of brought him alive, hasn't it? And he's right up there looking for that second win in a row. And we can see Timo Glock joining the back of that queue as well. This is soon going to be a 5-way battle for the lead, isn't it, Dave?
Tell you what, it's kind of the driver you don't want behind you, isn't it? It's Robin Freins that's having to deal with that at the moment, although Timo's not quite close enough to be able to pressure him yet. So René Rast has seen off the challenge for the moment from Sheldon van der Linde. In the meantime, of course, there is a 2-way fight there between Philip Eng and Robin Freins. Here comes Jamie Green on Joel Eriksson. So Jamie Green then in the number 53 Audi behind the BMW of Joel Eriksson, and Jamie Green and Joel Eriksson running in effectively P11 and P12, but of course expect that to change once everyone does do their pit stops. We still have 5 drivers that have not stopped as we go on to the ABD pit wall. There is Eng, there is Robin Freins. So this is a fierce battle that's going on at the moment, and effectively this is for the final podium place if everything were to stay this way, and that's assuming that everyone is going to be able to get away with a one-stop strategy in this race, and that is by no means guaranteed. So your real race leader currently is Marco Wittmann on track, but Marco Wittmann, Mike Rockefeller, Loic Duval, Jake Dennis and Ferdinand Habsburg have all got to stop. And here is Marco Wittmann that we go on board with right now. And the gap back from Marco Wittmann to René Rast is the crucial gap. It's 43.6 seconds. So what Marco Wittmann is trying to do here is build sufficient gaps so that he can have a pit stop. But what we need to do is ascertain how long it takes from pit in to pit exit. It's not the actual stop time, it's the time that it takes you to do the entire pit entry, pit exit, and the stop as well.
And of course, we don't know what tyres a lot of these drivers have available to them, and a two-stop strategy, as you've already said, could easily come into play here. We've seen it already this season. A second stop could be...
Wittmann's in.
Yes, he is.
Wittmann is in. This will be crucial. So Wittmann then, of course, pit lane speed limiter is on. He's mandated. He's making already adjustments to his brake bias because the brake's going to perform differently when he comes back out because he will be on fresher rubber. In the meantime, Philipp Eng doing everything he can to make that BMW as wide as possible, and especially wide enough to prevent an Audi from coming by, which is the prospect he has at the moment with Robin Freins. And of course, Timo Glock there as well. So the team go to work on the Marco Wittmann car RMG, do it in 7.2 seconds. This means that Mike Rockefeller is in the lead of the race. Here comes Marco Wittmann then. And you shortcut turn number 1, but René Rast and Sheldon van der Linde go through. Bear in mind, Wittmann is going to be on cold tyres as well when he rejoins. So van der Linde has gone through. Here comes Marco Wittmann. So he effectively puts himself into P6 because Timo Glock goes through, but he's still got to try and warm those tyres as well. And Wittmann's going to have Jamie Green for company, who has managed to get past Joel Eriksson, although Joel is... Joel is... he stopped earlier, didn't he, on P7, lap 7. So Philipp Eng and Robin Freins, I mean, this has been a lesson of many laps of defence from Philipp Eng as he's held on to this place from immense pressure from Robin Freins. He hasn't yielded to it. So here comes Robin Freins again. Timo Glock, you just get the impression he's just waiting there for it all to happen ahead of him and for him to be able to take advantage potentially. He's close enough as Robin Freins puts himself on the inside now. Whether there was a touch between Philipp Eng or Robin Freins, but he came out of it, didn't he? But that has allowed Timo Glock to get really, really close to Robin Freins now and really pressure him. He's not been able to make it stick, but boy, that was close. Exactly what I was saying. Timo Glock is just letting those two fight, isn't he? Ready to pick up the pieces.
That's great wisdom, isn't it? You let someone else do all the fighting and you just sail through on their coattails and pick up the pieces.
Absolutely. We've seen it time and time again in the DTM. Let someone else do all that hard physical work for you and, hey, I'm just going to take advantage and come on through.
And in all of this, Timo Glock is saving his tyres because he is not racing side by side.
We're seeing a retirement for Ferdinand Habsburg. That's a great shame. He was running in that P14 place and he is out. So... very, very disappointing to see Ferdinand Habsburg out. So Rocky leads from Loic Duval, from Jake Dennis. But actually, when you consider the pit stops that have been taken, René Rast, who is in P4, and here he is, and he's opened up something of a margin over Sheldon van der Linde now, hasn't he?
I think Sheldon van der Linde had a very small window of opportunity to get past Rast, and sadly that window has passed at the moment. But I think this is probably the warmest ambient temperature we've had this year for a race. We don't know what these tyres are going to do towards the end of the race duration.
No, we don't. So there is Robin Freins then, who Philipp Eng has seen off the measure of Robin Freins for the moment, and Timo Glock, of course, was gifted almost an opportunity to go by earlier on, but wasn't quite able to make it stick. But I'll tell you what, Timo Glock is going to be defended from Marco Wittmann and Jamie Green in a minute. Jamie Green is coming on really strong here. He stopped on lap 11. Marco Wittmann stopped on lap 16. Therefore, do the maths. Wittmann should have a pace advantage over Jamie Green because his tyres are younger. But, as you made the point, We actually don't know what tyres went on, but they were a scrubbed set or an older set. Ernst Moser from Audi Sport Team Phoenix then on the pit wall. And here is Mike Rockefeller. Is he coming in this time? No, he jolly well isn't. Lap time for Mike Rockefeller, 1:26.423. Quickest man is Rast on a 1:24.586. Loic Duval has come into the pit lane now, so there's the gap between Mike Rockefeller and René Rast. A cool 30 seconds, but of course that's little enough for Mike Rockefeller to be able to do a pit stop. And as I mentioned, Loic Duval comes into the pit lane now. So Audi Sport Team Phoenix standing by, and there a very disappointed Ferdinand Habsburg, who is out of the race. So there is Loic. They go to work from the Phoenix team. Loic revs it, spins the wheels out of the grid box, and is on his way down the pit lane. So on board with Mike Rockefeller, who chose not to pit last time around. Is it going to be this time? The only drivers that haven't stopped, Mike Rockefeller and Jake Dennis. Ferdinand Habsburg, so sorry to see him out of the races with Verena now.
So very unfortunate, Ferdinand. What happened? Why did you retire?
Something on the rear right failed, and seems to be a spec part, so something to investigate. Early end of a race is never fun, but fortunately we will learn something for sure.
Thank you very much, Ferdinand van Habsburg, and back to you.
Thank you very much. So Ferdinand Habsburg, as Mike Rockefeller is in now. So, with Mike Rockefeller coming in now, as we look back at the Marco Wittmann car from being on board with Timo Glock, that means that Jake Dennis for Aston Martin R Motorsport will be leading the race effectively. So, not for the first time in DTM in 2019, and Aston Martin is leading the race as Marco Wittmann then dives up the inside of Timo Glock. Now, probably Timo did not defend quite as hard against Marco Wittmann as he will defend as hard against Jamie Green. However, Jamie Green's having none of it. Looks to the inside just as his nose bitten off as the door is firmly closed. So why will Timo not defend this quite as vigorously? Well, Marco Wittmann's a BMW driver. Jamie Green's driving an Audi. So there is loyalty within the brand, of course. And Jamie Green, therefore, is going to have to fight just a little bit harder to try and find his way past Timo Glock. So the race being led by Jake Dennis, although, if you factor in the pit stops that we've seen so far, the race is actually being led by René Rast. But here is Jake Dennis then, in car number 76 then, the British star. And there is Dr. Florian Kamel-Guerre, the head of R Motorsport and the Aston Martin DTM program, which we're delighted to see these. And I have to say, the Aston Martin Vantage DTM car just looks so aggressive, and in the hands of Jake Dennis, oof, you know, Jake is such a talented driver, and throwing it around and giving it everything he possibly can. He's 13 seconds up the road from René Rast. In the meantime, Marco Wittmann has got Robin Freins within his target sights. Now, this is for P5 in the race, which will become P4. Both drivers using DRS. Robin Freins using it to defend. Marco Wittmann using it to attack, and he punts the back end of Robin Freins, and Robin Freins, the local boy, goes around. Well, from what I saw, from the angle I saw, Brian, it looked like Marco just touched the back end of the Robin Freins car, and that was enough to unsettle it, and around went Robin Freins.
I'm not sure whether that was slightly optimistic driving from Wittmann, and we can see it's under investigation. I wonder if he might pick up a penalty for that. We need to see a replay to see exactly what happened, but that certainly ended Robin Freins' afternoon, hasn't it?
And crucially, here is the replay. So Wittmann, I'm really sorry, that is a penalty coming.
Yeah, but he just went up the corner, didn't he?
More crucially than that, as we see it again in replay, is if Robin Freins can't get that car going again, where that car is situated, it's going to throw a safety car into the mix.
Yeah. I mean, it looks as though...
I think that's an easier steward decision
I
than
think
many
so
we've
too.
seen, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, we've got that safety car.
Now, all of a sudden, the shape of this race. And now Jake Dennis had come into the pits just at that point. And also in is Jamie Green. This will be Jamie Green's second stop. Nico Muller's come in as well. Bruno Spengler has come in as well. And oh, what a great shame for Robin Freins.
For those that do have tyres spare, this is going to be an interesting twist.
We've got 6 cars in the pit lane now. So Robin Freins then over the barriers as the safety car is called for. You see now effectively with the safety car out, and there was no doubt in my mind that the safety car was going to have to come out because of where the Robin Freins car was. It's a free opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a free pit stop in total, but it can be a great advantage.
Watch the white line. Good luck, mate.
Interestingly, just before we went under the safety car...
Look at them, forgive me, stacking up in the WRT garage.
Well, that shows the advantage that it is to come in. It's even worse stacking them.
You've got Jonathan Aberdeen ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi. And
went too quick in, had a massive oversteer, lost the car actually, and then slided into me where I was crossing his line, and I could not avoid him then, therefore.
Yeah. Because it looked like he'd just run out of grip.
Marco.
And understeered into him.
No, what he was saying, Brian, forgive me disagreeing with you, what he is saying is that Robin Freins was oversteering.
My pace is looking good. I can go quite a bit quicker than the BMWs in front as I have the fresher tires.
So do you think that's a message for the stewards?
The stewards listen in to Team Radio.
Yeah.
Now, what he was saying is that as Robin went into that turn...
Have that in mind for the guys in front.
The car was sliding. Robin's
so you
car
have
was
still 4
sliding.
DS, 5 push to pass.
I thought he was implying that his was sliding.
Only
Robin,
Van der Linde, P1, P2 have.
Unless I've read that wrong, but
No,
I
you
don't think so.
haven't.
I think what Marco was saying is, hey, look, guys, I had there was nothing I could do about that because Robin was oversteering, and therefore I was already fully alongside him, which
That's
no, you
absolute
weren't.
nonsense, that is. Yeah.
From what we saw,
That helicopter shot is fairly decisive, I think, and you can't argue with that.
Well, race stewards will make a decision, and that's where I will leave it for now. But Marco Wittmann had his own ideas of how that all unfolded as Joel Eriksson makes his way out of the pit lane.
One thing I was just going to say, just before the safety car came out, Sheldon van der Linde was the fastest man on the track, and he was the only driver in the 124s just before that went out. So he'd found a bit of pace and was reeling in René Rast very slightly.
Okay. Well, whatever pace advantage or whatever gap advantage René Rast had before the safety car, of course, that will be reduced to 0. But the cars will go side by side for that Indy-style restart, which we love in DTM.
Yes.
So, under the safety car then, and Marco Wittmann, who, car number 11, is, of course, under investigation. And the race stewards will be looking at every single angle of that, as indeed we have. And Marco has offered his version of events on Team Radio, hoping that the race stewards will hear his version. And, of course, they will take that into consideration as well. The Robin Freins car, which was right royally turned around, has got to be recovered, which is the reason for the safety car. Now, we could see an extension of the race because of that safety car. It is under the race control's ability to extend the race. Hello, you're on the telly, as those young supporters saw. We can extend the race to allow for this safety car. There you can see Arno Zenzen on the pit wall then. His driver, or his drivers,
so
and this.
Did Bruno stop as well? Did Bruno stop as well?
Was René Rast getting past Sheldon van der Linde. And this, Robin Freins and Philipp Eng.
Yes.
And some of the overtakes throughout the race. I'll tell you what, there was barely a cigarette paper between the front of Jamie Green's car and Joel Eriksson's, was there? Boy, that was a great overtake, Jamie.
So which cars in front of me did a pit stop?
So we've got 7 cars that have rolled the dice with a second pit stop.
I don't think it's a...
Green and Miller, 2 cars in front of you, and
I don't think
Bruno,
it's a
the 3 cars
dice
in front
roll,
of you,
truthfully.
and almost all the cars
so?
behind.
It's a free one. You've got to take it, haven't you? Because assuming you've got in stock tyres that are going to afford you better grip than the tyres that you were on.
Yeah.
You've got to do it.
So the leading driver of those is Jamie Green, isn't it, of the 2 stoppers?
Let's see. Well, once again, everyone here at Zolder, and there are thousands of you, we are driving plenty of drama into this race.
How is the DRS situation?
Critical. Oh, sorry, team radio wasn't to me. Sheldon van der Linde then, who did such a great job right at the start of the race, as we're looking at some of the overtakes, and this was Nico Müller on Bruno Spengler. Nico Müller, who of course was on the podium yesterday. This is the Mike Rockefeller car that we could see through the fencing, and this of course is Robin Freins, who sadly will join Ferdinand Habsburg as one of those that is now out of the race. What a pity.
It's great to see that a lot of the concerns that there were beforehand, that there might not be the ability to overtake, have been completely unfounded, isn't it? We've seen plenty of overtaking today.
I mean, it's been difficult.
Yeah.
Let's not, it has been difficult.
But not impossible.
But not impossible. Yeah. So, now, where are the cars? They're just crossing the timing line now as the Robin Freins car is being recovered. Therefore, I would suggest that at the end of this lap, the safety car will be in. Because the Robin Freins car will be taken to safety. There you can see, once it's behind those Armco barriers, that's pretty much to safety, isn't it? And that's when I suspect race control will throw the order that the safety car can come back in and we go back to racing. And yeah, it's as if I'm writing it, isn't it?
Every time.
Now we are going to see one heck of a race, because the cars are going to line up side by side for this Indy-style restart. Which way is it going to go? Is it going to be Rast, van der Linde? Is it going to be Ian Glock? One to really, really watch, as you suggested, Jamie Green.
Yep, he's on fresh tyres. He's going to be definitely a man on a mission. I love these Indy restarts. This is
so who has stopped? Jamie Green, Nico Müller, Bruno Spengler. Who's stopped twice? What I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Joel Eriksson, Jonathan Aberdeen, Danny Junckadea, and Pietro Fittipaldi. The danger man there is going to be Jamie Green, isn't it?
Yes.
Jamie Green is actually P9, but he theoretically is going to be on fresher rubber than anybody. Well, Rennie Rast is going to feel vulnerable, that's for sure. He's going to have Sheldon van der Linde on his side, isn't he? He's going to have Philip Eng right up his
Don't do it.
Oh, and we've got 15 minutes at the moment. The race could be, race control could decide to extend the race because of this safety car period. Still no news on the investigation that's going on into Marco Wittmann and Robin Freins coming together. For me, it was a pretty clear call, but that's why I'm talking about the racing rather than stewarding it. I wouldn't wish to get that one wrong. So here we go then. We're on board with our helicopter as the cars line up side by side for this Indy-style restart. They're making their way as Paul di Resta looks on down the back of the track. And through this final chicane, the race distance is increased to 55 minutes plus 3 laps. This is going to be critical. This Indy-style restart, Rennie Rast with his nose just in front of Sheldon van der Linde. The all-orange car of Jamie Green could be the one to be watching here as Rennie Rast puts it all together. Philip Eng on the inside of Sheldon van der Linde. Timo Glock on the outside of Marco Wittmann. So Rast has got it sussed absolutely perfectly. And Philip Eng finds himself in P2. Sheldon van der Linde is relegated to P3 and is under pressure from both Marco Wittmann and Timo Glock. And behind those two is Loic Duval. Wittmann is off onto the gravel. So too was Loic Duval. And here comes Jamie Green. Oh, this is brilliant stuff as the cars are all bunched together here. Jake Dennis and Jamie Green. Wittmann gets a drive-through penalty. Sorry, you've got that absolutely right, in my opinion. Heck, I'm only a commentator. What do I know? Oh, no! One of the Aston Martins is going through the gravel trap. He's going to be able to keep the momentum, though, and rejoin on the track. Whoa, this is what I love about these Indy restarts. It drives so much drama. It was Danny Juncadella that went for a trip through the gravel. Philipp Eng is P2, René Rast is P1.
And René Rast absolutely left Sheldon van der Linde for dead at the beginning of that. He was gone, wasn't he? Absolutely gone.
So two British drivers together here. Jake Dennis, you're looking at now in the number 76R Motorsport, Aston Martin, and Jamie Green right behind him as DRS gets enabled now. So Jamie Green just taking a look at the inside of Jake Dennis. Then ahead of Jake Dennis is Timo Glock. So both DRS and push to pass is enabled as Marco Wittmann comes in to serve his drive-through penalty.
Copy that. So the drive-through was for the turn 1 incident.
And despite...
I got a big hit by Timo, by the way.
Despite his protestations on the team radio, Marco Wittmann did get a drive-through penalty, and he takes that now. So René Rast leading from Philipp Eng, yesterday's race winner, who's P2. Sheldon van der Linde is P3, and then a whole train of cars behind them. Jamie Green is still not managed to be able to get past Jake Dennis. There is Pietro Fittipaldi and Joel Eriksson. Joel Eriksson locks up going into that turn. Pietro Fittipaldi goes ahead. Just ahead of them is Jonathan Aberdeen as well. So René Rast leading from Philipp Eng, from Sheldon van der Linde. And out goes the Danny Juncadella car number 23. We saw him through the gravel a few moments ago. Regrettably, his race is done and dusted. There is Loic Duval. Let's look back then at Jake Dennis's car from being on board with Timo Glock as we are now. Jake Dennis really having to defend hard from Jamie Green, but he's having a go at Timo Glock here. Tell you what, way to go, Jake Dennis. Now, Jamie Green could be the big beneficiary. They go 3 abreast. Jamie Green does 2 in 1 hit.
Absolutely stunning driving from Jamie Green. He went 3 abreast at one point. How brave is he?
Absolutely brilliant. He spotted that, didn't he? He could see that coming and says, I'm going to have some of this. Well done, Jamie Green.
We knew he was going to be one to watch. He's the one of the 2 stoppers, and he is a man on a mission.
That's the overtake of the day so
really
far, isn't it?
Yeah.
The gap between Rast and Eng is just a second.
You need to lie down after that, don't you?
Rather. Jonathan Aberdeen is really hounding Bruno Spengler here. So you've got Jonathan Aberdeen, Pietro Fittipaldi, Joel Eriksson and Loic Duval all lined up like a train behind Bruno Spengler. Rast leading from Philipp Eng and then Sheldon van der Linde. Then it's Mike Rockefeller. Then it is Jamie Green in that all-orange Audi, who is absolutely... He just spotted that opportunity coming from a mile off.
Brilliant
said,
driving.
"Tar very much, I'm going to have some of this." And through he went. Brilliant driving. Calm down, Dave. Right. René Rast crosses the timing line, 1.9 seconds now ahead of Philipp Eng in P2, Sheldon van der Linde P3. So we've got 9 minutes and 40 seconds of the race remaining, plus 3 laps. The race duration has been extended by race control because of the safety car, and therefore DTM, not only great racing, but great value as well, because we bring you more race action than ever before. 55 minutes plus 3 laps, confirmed on your screen for you. In replay then, there is René Rast with a rare error. A very rare error from René Rast.
We've seen cars retire from the race with lesser than that, haven't we? Getting airborne over those curbs, you can do a lot of damage, not to mention take the sidewall out on a tyre.
There's Nico Muller, who's currently running in P8, 7.1 seconds down on the race lead. Now, Jamie is going to have to do an awful lot of overtaking here, because ahead of him he has Mike Rockefeller, Sheldon van der Linde, and, well, who knows what he can achieve. We're looking back from Timo Glock, who, of course, has got the Jake Dennis car behind him. And Jake Dennis using that push-to-pass to get ever closer. Sheldon van der Linde using the push-to-pass at the moment to try and get on terms with Philipp Eng. So 3 seconds between Rast and Eng, but Eng is under pressure now from Sheldon van der Linde. This is Nico Muller chasing down that car of Jake Dennis. So there is Eng, there's Van der Linde, there's Rocky, and there is Jamie Green.
But unfortunately, Jamie Green only has one use of the DRS left, hasn't he?
And only 8 minutes plus 3 laps. Here comes Nico Muller on Jake Dennis. What can Nico Muller do to try and find his way past the ARM Motorsport Aston Martin of Jake Dennis? Glock and Dennis, you can see as the graphics light into a different colour who is using push to pass and when. So Jake Dennis ahead of Nico Muller for the moment and staying ahead. Rast with 3.4 seconds over Philip Eng currently. So Nico Muller then, of course, on the podium yesterday. I think that might be a big ask for today. However, never say never, because who knows what drama is yet to unfold. So there is a three-way fight effectively now for Philip Eng's place, because for company, Eng has Sheldon van der Linde, Mike Rockefeller and Jamie Green. So 2 BMWs fighting 2 Audis here for this P2 place. So places 2 and 3 on the podium are up for grabs here, and you wouldn't bet on which driver is going to seize those. Just under 7 minutes remain, plus 3 laps. Number 21 car of Pietro Fittipaldi, you can see there, of course, from the WRT team. So Sheldon van der Linde, who is running in P3, chasing down that Philip Eng car. So Eng at the moment has got the measure of van der Linde. He got much, much closer, did Sheldon, a lap or so ago, as here comes Jamie Green on Mike Rockefeller now. The defence here will not be too strong from Mike Rockefeller. So Jamie Green now finds himself in P4. A podium in sight for the British racer. Ernst Moser from the pit wall. Rennie Rast then with 4.1 seconds. Rennie Rast has really got the pace and the grip, hasn't he, in terms of what he has available. Philip Eng, I would suggest here, let's just look at the lap times. 1:26.3 for Philip Eng, a 1:25.2 look from Rennie Rast.
Yeah, he along with Marco Wittmann are the 2 fastest men on the track at the moment. And Rennie Rast showing his great experience and wisdom in preserving the car to the critical part of the race.
So Sheldon taking a look at the inside, just showing his face to the inside of that the car of Philip Eng. But Sheldon van der Linde, he's in this awful position now where he's trying to hunt Philip Eng ahead, but he's also having to defend from Jamie Green. Jamie Green on a real flyer now. So Jamie Green then right on the back of Sheldon van der Linde. This will be for step 3 on the podium potentially for Jamie Green. And DRS and push to pass completely unrestricted now. It's a free-for-all in the final stages of this race. So Sheldon, who did such a good job in the early stages of this race in terms of defending against the Audi of Rennie Rast, is now having to defend against the Audi of Jamie Green. And if you welded the Jamie Green front end to the back of the Sheldon van der Linde BMW, it couldn't have been much closer through that turn, could it? And here he goes again, under braking, is able to get ever closer to Sheldon van der Linde. We saw Arno Zenzen then looking on. Arno told me at the Lausitring at one of the test days that, and I mentioned this right at the start of our program today, that we haven't seen the best of Jamie Green yet. Well, I think we've certainly seen certainly the best overtake of the day came from him, and the pace that he has got now. And Jamie is one of those racing drivers, if he knows there's the opportunity for a podium, he is going to throw absolutely everything at it. But he won't be he won't be so determined to throw everything away either. But I think he knows that he could probably, he flies the car over those curbs. He knows that probably he's got a marginal pace advantage over Sheldon van der Linde, but he's got to find a way by, and thus far he hasn't been able to do that. And we know here at Zolder that it is difficult. try and provoke Sheldon into making a mistake. Well, we didn't see that from René Rast, really, did we? He didn't. Sheldon was able to... Look at him, he's up the road by 5.3 seconds, René Rast. But again, Green gets ever closer.
And the thing is that Sheldon van der Linde has plenty of DRS and push to pass available with
and
which to defend. And you can see the DRS opening. Jamie Green has one more use of the DRS left and nothing left in the push to pass. So he's got to use it very, very wisely.
Yeah, so he's at a slight disadvantage here, isn't he? Because he hasn't got those aids to help him. It's going to have to be done on raw ability and pace alone, both of which he appears to have plenty of, certainly in terms of the raw ability, we know. And they're very disappointed is Robin Freins, who, of course, takes no further part in this race, of which we have 3 laps plus 2.5 minutes, thereabouts.
And we also need to remember that Jamie Green is on fresher tyres. Now, I don't know how worn they are this far away from the pit stop, but he has fresher tyres than Sheldon van der Linde does.
Just saw a big cloud of smoke at the start of the start-finish straight. Whether somebody went off or not, I'm not sure, but Jamie Green then saw the graphics on screen detailing just some of Jamie Green's DTM career as he continues to chase down Sheldon van der Linde, who has got Philipp Eng ahead of him. Philipp Eng, of course, race winner yesterday. If he could bank a P2 in this race, what a weekend he would have had. And now they're all bunching up, you see, because we're going to have a 4-way fight for this P2 place, aren't we? It ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. Mike Rockefeller is on the back of that pack. Jamie Green, of course, got through on Mike Rockefeller a couple of laps ago. And I think Jamie Green has just eased off a bit now, just to allow things to cool down, realising that he's got 3, probably 4 more laps, I would suggest. And therefore, is just going to try and lull, as Timo Glock runs very wide there, try and lull Sheldon into a false sense of security and then try and come back at him right at the very end. We will see. Timo Glock, incidentally, who we saw running really wide, he's running in turn 6. A great showing from Jake Dennis, who's running in P7 ahead of Bruno Spengler P8, Nico Muller P9, and Jonathan Aberdeen P10. There is the Glock car, there is Jake Dennis, there is Bruno Spengler. And on the back of that pack, Jonathan Aberdeen and Pietro Fittipaldi running in P10 and P11. Our race leader, René Rast, who's extended that lead to nearly 7 seconds. And Philipp Eng, Sheldon van der Linde, Jamie Green and Mike Rockefeller, take your pick. It's going to be one of those, potentially. And again, Jamie Green applies the super glue to the back of the Sheldon van der Linde BMW. So is it going to be this time? So through the chicane. Back on the loud pedal. Turn 1 is somewhere where we've seen overtakes. Can Jamie get close enough to dive to the inside? I don't think he is, because Sheldon van der Linde was using that DRS to defend. And therefore that prevented Green getting close enough to begin to have a go. 3 laps left to run in this DTM race. We're live from Zolder with René Rast leading the race from Philipp Eng P2, Sheldon van der Linde and Jamie Green arguing over P3. At the moment it is with Sheldon van der Linde. Mike Rockefeller just ready to push all of them at the moment. As he sits there in P5 before a huge gap before we get back to this battle, which is being contested over P6, 7, 8 and 9. Timo Glock ahead of Jake Dennis. Jake Dennis in turn ahead of Bruno Spengler. So this 3-way fight for P3 continues. Philipp Eng, it's played into his hands a little bit here, because as they've been fighting with Sheldon van der Linde, that has allowed Philipp Eng to get a little bit up the road and gap back as Jake Dennis was having a look at Timo Glock then, and they're all concertinaing together here. Bruno Spengler could be vulnerable to Nico Muller. Whoa, look at this. Timo Glock then at the head of this pack. Oh, and the number 76 car of Jake Dennis. He goes through, so too does Bruno Spengler. We've seen two brilliant British overtakes, haven't we, from Jamie Green and Jake Dennis, and here comes Bruno Spengler. So racing room-ish left for Bruno Spengler to have a go by Jake Dennis. And now Timo Glock comes back, Nico Muller on the inside of Bruno Spengler. So all the fighting going on here. This is allowing Jake just to get up the road and say, get on with it, guys, I'm out of here. And Pietro Fittipaldi and Jonathan Aberdeen and Joel Eriksson and Lloyd Duval as well. Whoa.
They're all going for it, aren't
and
they?
the big loser there is Timo Glock, look, who's just gone back and back and back.
What amazing driving from Jake Dennis in the R Motorsport Aston Martin. That was a stunning move.
Well, I said we've seen two brilliant overtakes and they've both come from British drivers, I say.
We're not biased.
Somewhat proud of that. Here comes Green on Van der Linde. Oh, well, you know what? That was going to be difficult, so he bailed out of that.
Well, Van der Linde is now out of DRS and has only got one push to pass left, so they're a little bit more equal now.
So Sheldon Van der Linde then, who's done a brilliant job of defending here. Mike Rockefeller, of course, his pace has come back because the more they've fought, he's allowed them to do all the physical work ahead of them, and he's just trying to take advantage of it as well. So we are on the last lap. What a race.
Great, great.
So where can Jamie have a go now? Oh, he would so want to be on the podium here. Where can he do it? Around the back of the paddock now. And Arno Zensen once again looks on from the pit wall. I mean, René Rast is in, well, he's checked out. He's 9 seconds up the road.
He's got time for a cup of tea, isn't he?
Absolutely amazing drive from René Rast. Philippe Eng, well, to come away from here with a P1 and a P2, if it stays this way, he will have had a fantastic weekend. And Sheldon Van der Linde, okay, he started pole position. Of course, the fairy tale would have been to take the win, but a podium, I suspect that he'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Given the conditions, given the drama. But Jamie Green has gone past him. And here comes Mike Rockefeller on the grass. Whoa!
Whoa!
René Rast wins.
Who owns the car? Who owns the car? Spray the brakes.
Here comes Philippe Eng to take P2. And Jamie Green is going to be on the podium.
Yes! Yeah.
And both
Jamie P3. Jamie P3.
And Mike got past Sheldon Van der Linde.
What a last lap. Where did Rockefeller come from?
We didn't see the overtake because, of course, René was then crossing the finish line. My goodness. Oh, what a race.
You have to feel for Sheldon Van der Linde there, don't you? He had it in the bag to the last corner.
He'll take it, and he'll learn from it. And we
guys, mega job, everyone.
We can take nothing away from what he has achieved today.
Brilliant from Jamie Green. Brilliant.
Mike Rockefeller rally crossing across the grass. I'm going to have some of this. And what a result for our motorsport as well. Jake Dennis, look, P6. So many positives out of that race.
Yeah.
Well, you can see down there that Arno Zensen is very happy, and quite rightly. René Rast, well, class drive as always.
He checked out, didn't he? Abby, he was miles away.
Philippe Eng, very quietly, is going to bank P2. What a weekend he's had. Here, then, is René Rast, then.
What a great demonstration of driving, of just from all of these drivers. Brilliant driving.
Well done, René. I so hope we see a replay of the...
I think we will.
Jamie Green and Mike Rockefeller and Sheldon Van der Linde, because that was something else.
He'd been planning that one clearly from some way back, and he sprung the trap at the last minute.
Whether he was planning it or not, he'd got no alternative, had he? He'd got, you know. So on board with René Rast, then race winner. I'll tell you what, in terms of entertainment value, it gets no better, does it?
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. In the driver standings, look at this. Philippe Eng on 59 points. René Rast on 54. Marco Wittmann on 43. Wow, wow, wow. Arno Zenzen looked almost into a sprint up the pit lane. He's ordering his Chinese takeaway in celebration already. Here is René then. What an extraordinary race. So coming here to Zolder, we were slightly... Here it is. Here it is. Well, it was opportunistic, but the door was left open, and Jamie went through, and so Mike Rockefeller said, thanks very much, and then thought, do you know what? I can have Jamie here as well. Okay, I might have to use the curbs and the grass, as well as the tarmac and the paint, but I'm going to have a go. Look at this. Almost clattered the barrier. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, fair play for having a go. I do feel a little... There's just dreadful parking in the Parc Fermé area, I'm sorry. I have to say, fair play to all the drivers for the respect between each other, because it could have got a lot more physical, couldn't it?
Yeah.
René Rast, we can take nothing away from what he achieved, but in fairness, all the action was going on behind him, wasn't it?
It really was.
And indeed, Philip Eng, who kind of was out on his own, wasn't he? And we couldn't say much about Philip, really, because he was thankful, I guess, that everything was breaking out behind him, because he was able to just, thanks very much, I'll just get on with it.
Philip's had a weekend to remember, hasn't he?
Well done, Jamie.
Yes.
Brilliant effort. Brilliant effort. There is René then. Here comes Jamie Green. Coming here to Zolder, everyone said it's going to be difficult to overtake. You know, we're worried about the action we're going to see.
Needn't have worried.
And it's Misano next. Oh, jolly. Cannot wait. Confirmation of the result then. René Rast taking the win from Philip Eng, Jamie Green, P2 and P3. Then it was Mike Rockefeller, Sheldon van der Linde ahead of Jake Dennis, Bruno Spengler, Nico Muller, Pietro Fittipaldi. And then after Pietro Fittipaldi, it was Joel Eriksson, Loic Duval, Jonathan Aberdeen, Marco Wittmann, Timo Glock, and of course, sadly, we lost Danny Junkadea, Robin Freins, and Ferdinand Habsburg. And the rain didn't come.
No, it's looking a bit cloudy now, but we got the race out of the way, didn't we? So it wouldn't have been that good with the rain, I don't think.
No, I don't think. I think you're right. Absolutely brilliant. In the driver's standings then, as we calm down, Philip Eng on 59 points, René Rast on 54, and Marco Wittmann on 43. Sheldon van der Linde, look at this, P10 in the driver's points in his only his first DTM year and only his second DTM weekend. So as a rookie, what an achievement. Well, the helicopter that flies high above the TV compound in our studio complex looks on at this Zolder circuit, which really has delivered a great weekend of DTM racing, and the thousands of fans that have made their way here, I should think, will be pretty well satisfied with the entertainment they've seen. To your left is Philip Eng, race winner. In the middle is René Rast, and to his right-hand side is Jamie Green. Sorry, I can't. Do you know what?
Yeah, you're all hot and flushed.
Oh, it was so good.
That was amazing.
It was so good. Well, René Rast is the race winner. Let's hear from him now.
And he is a very, very happy man. René, congratulations. It's your second win in the season, which has just started. So you must be really thrilled, above the moon.
Yeah, and again on Sunday. And Hockenheim, we also won on Sunday. Had a DNF on Saturday, just like this weekend. If we just win every second race, I think it should be enough. But still, yeah, it was a great race. I mean, mechanics, they built up the car from scratch this night. Big credits to them again. And the race car, I mean, the car was incredibly fast. So big thanks to my whole team, to Audi Sport. They made it happen today.
You were almost 10 seconds ahead of Philip. That's crazy.
Yeah, the car was just going and going and didn't stop going. So yeah, really, really impressed by the engineering crew who made it happen, and also my mechanics who just built a perfect car.
You did a great job, René. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Yeah, you did do a great job. There's no question about that. Well done, Rene. Dieter Gas then, who will be very happy, and as Rene has said, it's the second race at the moment, isn't it, over the first 2 weekends that he's nailing perfectly. Jamie Green then with, I still think that maybe it was the overtake of the day. Perhaps it was the Jake Dennis overtake. I don't know, but whichever way, it was a British one, in my opinion. But then I wouldn't I? As Dieter Gas, then the head of Audi Sport, offers his congratulations to Rene Rast, and absolutely amazing stuff. So Arno Sensen to the right-hand side of Dieter Gas, who of course is therefore to the left. P3 then in super slow-mo. Let's do the top three. Jamie Green takes third place. P2, following up from his race win, Philipp Eng is back on the podium again. And then the race winner by an extraordinary 9.8 seconds at the end of the race, Rene Rast. So the drivers will make their way up to the podium, which is a relatively easy walk from Parc Fermé, it has to be said. And there you can see everyone who has been right royally entertained. There's no question about that, with some of the finest DTM racing that you can imagine. So the podium ceremony is but a few moments away. Just getting the drivers all into the right places. And it's going to be Rene Rast on the top step of the podium, Philipp Eng on step 2, and Jamie Green on step 3. And you can see how everyone is gathering in front of the podium to offer applause, cheers, shouts and screams where necessary.
Here's our winner for race 3 of the 2019 DTM season. It's race 4 here in Zolder. Clap your hands for Rene Rast.
And so here comes Rene Rast then, as Ollie Sittler, the podium presenter, brings him out onto the top step of the podium.
Second place driver. Clap your hands for the P1 driver, Philipp Eng.
Philipp Eng took his DTM victory yesterday. He backs that up with a P2 today. That's not a bad weekend at the office for Philipp Eng. And he is back, and back on the podium. P3 for Jamie Green. So, of course, Audi Sport Team Rosberg represented up there on the podium as well. Here comes the national anthem. National anthem plays out, and time for the trophy presentations to be made. Herman Reinders, the Governor of Limburg, then making the trophy presentation to our race winner, René Rast. And Tom Boone, and then the former world champion road cycling, makes the trophy presentation to the team. So the chairman of the board of the circuit here in Zolder, thank you for your welcome. Jacques, who makes the trophy presentation to Philipp Eng. So DTM Fan Experience winner gets to present the trophy to Jamie Green. Well done, Jamie. So trophies lifted up then in synchronization-ish for the photograph for the world's media attention as the DTM concludes its race weekend here at Zolder. Time for the carbon champagne then. Well, if you're in the front row of the podium audience, good luck. Love watching those celebrations. You can see Moritz Frauein there, one of the cameramen. I think he got a good soaking as well, to be fair. Certainly Arno did. But he doesn't mind. Okay, chaps, let's have a slug of that. What a weekend. What racing we've seen. So really good to enjoy all the celebrations going on the podium, and big smile for René Rast. And Philipp Eng, what a weekend he's had. A race win and a P2. He's got to be satisfied with that.
Oh, I'm so sure that Philipp is really excited, and Philipp is really starting to feel very comfortable here on the podium. So congratulations from third place to from P3 to 2. So how excited are you?
It was a really tough race. I had to fight for this very hard today. I was happy when the safety car came out because I felt like I could race the others. I did a mistake on turn 2 at the start. I locked up and went wide, so I got past, which was not very good from my side. But then we made up a perfect strategy thanks to the team, and here I am.
And you can get used to it, right?
Yeah, it's a super nice feeling, scoring many points. So for me, it can continue like this.
I bet. Thank you very much, Philipp. And back to the commentator.
Yeah, pretty comfortable there. And as he says, banking some very important points. Still a lot of racing to come. From here, we head off, of course, to Misano on the Adriatic coast. Then it's Norrisring, Assen, Brands Hatch, Lausitzring, Nürburgring, Hockenheim. Some great racing in prospect, that's for sure. And still plenty more action to come from DTM in this 2019 season. So as the track unfolds below us then from our helicopter, Rast takes the win by nearly 10 seconds over Philipp Eng, who we just heard from in P2. And Jamie Green, of course, took P3. So there we have it then. Welcome return to Zolder. And you have played host to some fantastic DTM race action here. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you have too. Final words, of course, with Verena, as always.
Well, this comeback here in Zolder after 17 years really was absolutely amazing, and we couldn't have dreamed it up any better. We've seen so much action, and it really has been brilliant. And now, of course, no problem, Jamie.
Sorry.
Such a good job he did. From P9 on the podium, so really amazing. But anyway, we are so much looking forward to being back in 3 weeks in Misano. You do not want to miss the action. So for now, here are the highlights of the race, and see you in 3 weeks. Bye-bye.